May we have your attention, please, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. You are requested to join us here in the main ballroom and please kindly be seated as the closing session of the second stakeholders consultation meeting is about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, the closing session of the second stakeholders consultation meeting will begin shortly. Therefore, we request you to be seated, especially for those of you who are already in this main ballroom. Once again, please make your way to the available chairs in the main ballroom, and let's prepare ourselves to start the closing session. Thank you. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon and welcome back to our main ballroom here for the closing session of the second stakeholders consultation meeting for the upcoming 10th World Water Forum. Here I am again, Dian Ariswari as your master of ceremony, and this time I'm with...
My name is Adi Tusanjaya, your master of ceremony for today's closing session of today's event.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, as we continue our program this evening, we are very privileged to have two exceptional individuals leading our discussion. So please join us in welcoming the moderator, Ibu Nani Hendiarti, Deputy for Environmental and Forestry Management, Coordinating Ministry of Maritime Affairs and Investment of the Republic of Indonesia.
And also our co-moderator, Senior Advisor French Ministry for Ecological Transition, NIN Forum ISC, Mr. Patrick Lavard.
Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Now we will hand over the floor to the moderators, please.
Distinguished delegates, participants, experts, very good afternoon. As already introduced, my name is Nani Hendiarti. I'm also here representing the Coordinating Minister for Maritime Affairs and Investment. So we are responsible to coordinate and synchronize all the processes for the strategic outcome, namely the ministerial declarations and the concrete deliverable. So we are glad from the last 2 days meeting, we have been having the extensive discussions on various issues related with the water, with attending by more than 1,000 participants. Please give applause first for all of us. Thank you. And we have collected burning issues from the all processes, the thematic process, regional process, and such as we have been discussed about the sustainable water finance, water governance, and also water security. We are encouraged to see that this bottom-up will be incorporated in the political process. So during the opening remark, the Minister Basuki, His Excellency Minister Basuki, highlighted the importance of the collaborations between developed countries and developing countries, particularly with regard to the water justice. Now, we will listen lively dialogue on the interactions between political process, regional process, and thematic process. And I would like to give the floor to my co-moderator, Mr. Patrick Laverde. Please, it's your time.
Thank you, Excellency Mrs. Nani. So this morning we had the report of the thematic sub-team, and we had a very interesting list of potential sessions which will be the basis of the future program. And this afternoon we will consider first the interlinkages between the thematic process and the political process. And we will review each of the 4 political segments. We will start by a short presentation of the expectations of each segment, and we will have the proposal from the breakout session which take place at the end of this morning, in order to try to reply and to propose ideas, messages, initiatives to each political segment. And in the second phase of our plenary session, we will do the same at the regional level. We will consider the proposal of each of the 4 regions regarding the link with the thematic and also potential political messages. So first, maybe you will invite the person to join the stage.
Correct. Thank you so much, Mr. Patrick Lavard. So now we would like to invite to be up on the stage to all of the speakers, Ms. Oriana, the Head of Unit, Water Governance and Circular Economy, Urban Policies and Sustainable Development Divisions of the OECD.
We also kindly invite Ms. Andrea Eriksson, Global Water Security Lead, Nature Conservancy.
Mr. Neil Dodd, Executive Director of the International Federations of Private Water Operators, Aquafed.
Mr. Satoshi Ishii, Director Strategy and Policy, Water and Urban Development Sector Office, Asian Development Bank.
Mr. Benedito Braga, Professor of Civil and Environmental Engineering, Honorary President of the World Water Council.
Mr. Abdeslam Shiad, Director Ministry of Equipment and Water, Morocco.
Mr. Rashid Mbazira, Executive Secretary of the African Ministers' Council on Water.
Ms. Chang Hua, Vice Chair of Asia Pacific Water Forum.
Now we already have all of the panelists on the stage. Return back to
So-
the moderators.
Thank you very much. So we thank all the rapporteurs who will present the reports of the different breakout. And now we'll start with the links between the political and the thematic processes. We'll start with the local authorities process, and I invite Vice Governor Emile Dadak, Vice Governor of East Java, who is at the same time the President of the Eastern Regional Organization for Planning and Housing, to introduce the expectation of the local authorities regarding the water community. Please, Governor.
Thank you, Moderator Mr. Lafarge, and also Moderator Deputy Ibu Nani Hendiarti, and all the panelists. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good afternoon to all distinguished delegates of the Stakeholder Consultation meeting. So I would like to represent one of the members of the earlier discussion on political process, which is one of the breakout session focusing on how government institutions will become part of this process of deliberations to come to an agreed set of actions that will come out of the eventual World Water Forum that we will have later on next year. And focusing specifically on the issue of local government, it is very important to take into account that on a day-to-day basis, a lot of the issues pertaining to water, ensuring water reaches every household, ensuring that citizens are not taking part in activities that would be detrimental to the sustainability of our water resources. At the forefront, we will have the local governments dealing with that. And then, it's not uncommon to see that some of these human activities are politically and socially sensitive. And as a result, it creates actual challenges in how we can enforce the best practice, scientifically accepted principles on how to maintain our water resources to ensure the sustainability of our water supply to the people. So a number of issues have been identified in the discussion, including number one, of course, is the technical competence of the local authorities, including local water utilities, in how they can manage the provision of water in the most effective and efficient manner. And also, what is very important is the fiscal resources of local authorities in the provision of water, and also in ensuring the sustainability of our water resources. The maintaining of rivers include a system that involves at the top the central government, the provincial, and also the local governments. And the lack of fiscal resources result in insufficient manpower and sufficient resources to ensure the sustainability of the rivers at the same time. And the other issue is, as we discussed in the panel earlier, is really about the fact that the ecological boundaries that pertains to river basin, which is the most important anchoring of our water resources management, or we call it integrated water resources management, involves different boundaries with the administrative boundaries. And as a result, we will face conflicts between different local authorities when it comes to the use of water resources. As a vice governor myself, representing a province with 38 municipalities and 40 million people, we really see the actual issue when we have to deliver water from one local authority, from one local administration to another local administration. And that will create sensitivity. But the problem is, irrespective of where people are, they cannot be deprived of water supply. No one should actually be unable to access water because of where they live. And the problem is, not all places have access to water naturally. So there needs to be an effort to bring water from one different administrative boundary to another. And therefore, we hope that in the eventual discussion, in the subsequent discussions, we can mainstream these real, actual socio-political issues at the local level in order to make sure that we can have an agreed understanding on how we can move forward with this. Finally, Also in the session, we have the privilege to have UCLG, United Cities and Local Government, represented. And there was a commitment from UCLG to bring all its members of the local government associations that have formed this collaboration under UCLG to be engaged in the World Water Forum. And it is an opportunity not only to showcase some of the success stories, but also to create a set of action to also agree on the principle and foundation. Finally, also because I represent EROP, Eastern Regional Organization for Planning and Human Settlements, which is an organization that was established back in 1956 to bring about all practitioners from different professions who are concerned with human settlements, we often find that, and it gets increasingly more challenging with the development of social media, the unlimited access to information, non-curated information spreading around the people. It becomes a big challenge when science has to confront political and social realities. And therefore, a World Water Forum would be very important to create a direction that can actually pierce through the complexity of local politics, that can avoid any short-term pragmatic interest getting in the way of the best practice that is justified both scientifically and also, of course, socially. So I look forward definitely as one of the local authorities to see how we can continue all this discussion up until the World Water Forum and to actually be able to then come up with principles that everyone should try to adhere. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Dadak, and we wish you a safe flight back as you have to leave now. Now we will give the floor to Oriana. Oriana will report on behalf of the 6 thematic breakout session, which worked on the different political segment, and she will report the voice of the water community to the expectation of the local and regional authorities.
Thank you very much. So we should have a very short presentation about the main messages. By the time the presentation will be set up, yes. So basically, well, many messages resonate with what the Vice Governor just mentioned. Water is a global issue that is managed by many aspects at local level when it comes to access to safe drinking water and sanitation and water resources management. 3 main messages from the political point of view. The first is that even when in a context of decentralized water policies, local authorities cannot do everything on their own. They need dialogue with the levels of government, and such cooperation is needed. Second message, lack of financing is an issue to provide access to safe drinking water and sanitation, but also to respond to climate issues and to preserve water resources and respond to disasters. And third, the point that has been also mentioned by the Vice Governor about empowering local authorities through technical capacities, human capacities, and peer learning. So you could see that these 3 messages can take the form of 5 dimensions. One is on financing, one is on cooperation, education, capacity, and data. And the last one is about, if I can move my And the last one is about cross-sectoral urban planning, integrated strategy, and water service operations. Now, just 1 more minute to say that beyond the political messages within the thematic areas, we have also discussed about concrete initiatives within each of these dimensions. For example, on financing, one of the initiatives was about the promotion of local schemes for funding. In terms of cooperation, one concrete initiative is the creation of a high-level roundtable on basin authorities and mayors, but also between local and national and / parliamentarian cooperation platform. When it comes to education, capacity building and data, I'm not going to the list, but just to say that one of the proposals was, for example, curricula for mayors on integrated water resources management and technical assistant. On community engagement, one of the initiatives that could be put forward to operationalize the message that local authorities should be the voice of local communities is through the best practices in terms of sustainable water solutions that are promoted by the community. And I conclude with the last dimension on cross-sectoral urban planning, integrated strategies and water service operation, in which one of the initiatives would be the handbook or strategy or handbook or practices collections in terms of strategies and plans on urban resilience to water risks through nature-based solutions. And I conclude here for now. Thank you.
Apologize to interrupt before we continue. We would like to invite one more speaker to be up on the stage, Mr. Yong Hwan Kim from the Asia Water Council, please. And probably for Mr. Rashid Mbazira, Executive Secretary of the African Ministers' Councils on Water, please also once again join them on the stage.
Okay, thank you very much. There were the 2 regional coordinators missing. Thank you. So, thank you, Oriana. I believe that the proposal from the water community are fitting quite well with the expectation of the local and regional authorities. And I notice that you have at the end quite precise proposal and initiative to launch, which is excellent. So now we can move to the next level. After the local, regional level, we move to the basin level. And the expectation will be introduced by Mr. Iman Santoso, who is the President Director of a Basin Authority, and at the same time, he is also representing the network of Asian River Basin Organization. So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Patrick and Ibu Nani, to give me the opportunity to report on the progress of regarding to the basin authorities process. This morning we have a panel session, and then I have a lot of discussion with the expert. And as the basin authorities issues, we have some issues have to be carried out in the World Water Forum in Bali. That the issues is such as first is the how to improve cooperation in transboundary basin organization. The second is how to improve knowledge and resource sharing for sustainable water management at a basin level, and how to strengthen the integrated water resource management in basin level. The last is how to emphasize the importance of basin level water management for sustainable developments. And as a remarks that we have the discussion, I would like to emphasize several aspects such as the strengthening collaboration through strategic partnership at basin level, like NARBO, INBO, and others organizations. And the second is the promoting the dialogue between stakeholders involving in water resources management at basin level. The third is promoting world twinning initiative for basin organization, peer-to-peer, and then promoting concrete outcomes to close the gap on water justice. And then it's very important that the commitment to implement the declaration or recommendation, integrated action is needed after the event to evaluate and to monitor the result of the implementation. Ladies and gentlemen, for the next World Water Forum, we also planning to set up the agenda of the Basin Segment Day arrangement. It's a parallel session of the 10th World Water Forum 2024 in Bali. And we need your support and expertise for making this setup agenda work efficiently and for brings us about successful and useful deliberates. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Santoso. So now we will have the proposal from the water community presented by Andrea, and I believe that it will also fit quite well with your expectation if we have in mind the keywords you had in your speech.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And indeed, I do hope that our results will come up here very quickly. So I am collecting from the thematic processes the recommendations that came forward for basin authorities. And probably the first thing to remember is that basin is the natural scale. It's not the political scale, or rarely is. And so one of our challenges truly is we have to overcome the challenges of that to try to really get to what is the highest outcome that the basin scale authorities or committees or whatever form they take might bring to the table. They have the opportunity for scale and for integrating ecological systems and having the long-term view on the resilience and viability of water resources. And so it's very important that we try to maximize that value. But we do want to acknowledge there are very different kinds of basin authorities, if you will. Some of them are simply collective action, voluntary mechanisms, public and private partnerships coming together to plan for and implement coordinated activities at a basin scale. Some of them might be set up as civil society organizations that become a networking functionality between public sectors and private sectors. Indeed, advisory committees, which could be legally mandated advisory committees that have a specific role, and there are actual authorities. So here the recommendations are going to have to be agnostic to the model, but there are some very common things that the thematic process would ask of the basin level authorities. So first of all, the proper planning. That is, again, the best scale at which to think about our water resources. And then from that, understanding the human uses that are derived from that. A caveat on that is basin scale is great for surface waters. It doesn't actually necessarily match the aquifers. And so one important thing about thinking about the best practices, guidelines, and really just the quality assurance of how we do planning is to not separate surface waters and aquifers. And that in and of itself is a challenge still. And there's many other very good recommendations, and that would be a much longer list if we sort of went down the list of what proper planning, what the proper methodologies and approaches would be. But here what we're saying is for the basin authorities, we look to you to make sure that we understand what those best practices are, inclusion, participation, ecological boundaries, setting targets, full stakeholder engagement, and the list goes on. Really important role. Secondly is we heard quite a bit about the importance, the opportunities of data, big data and innovation in data, and how important data is and how we're still struggling to actually have coherent data that is...
They're also responsible for normal settings, norms and norm settings, yeah. in water. Secondly, they hold power in budgeting. And thirdly, to some extent, they control the use of budget implementations